Clayton Kershaw returns, not to be an ace, but still to be a potential savior. Contavious Caldwell-Pope was surprised the Lakers did not upset Denver. And for the first time as UCLA coach, DeShaun Foster looked like a damn fool. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos morning report. It is July 25th, 2024, and holy crud, do we got a lot to talk about this morning. Do you like being in the know about LA sports? Well, if you do, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means, comment. Now, before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. San Francisco 8, Dodgers 3. The Dodgers' 5-game winning streak gets snapped. No nice way to say it. The Dodgers stunk up the joint. Meanwhile, today, San Francisco plays the Dodgers again at 1. Clayton Kershaw, he's making his 2024 debut, which we'll talk more about in a moment, versus Logan Webb at 7-8 with a 3.59 ERA. And let's get to the news. Way too much to discuss. A couple of days ago, a viewer wondered aloud why the Dodgers were so gung-ho about keeping Clayton Kershaw, particularly because he's not nearly the ace that he used to be. And after all, the guy had shoulder surgery that sidelined him for more than half of this season. Well, one reason, and I'm not trying to be snarky back to the guy, one reason is he's only 56 strikeouts away from 3,000. Do you really want to see him do that in a Rangers uniform? And the other reason is, we agree, he's no longer an ace, but could still be pretty damn helpful in the playoffs as a third or fourth starter. So the LA Times knows this, and they followed Kershaw to Texas for his final minor league rehab start. They were curious about what the Dodgers could get for the stretch run. Now, pitching coach Mark Pryor likes that there's no hesitation in the delivery. Quote, "It's crazy how consistent his delivery has been. The first time you saw him throw, you were like, this is almost identical to where he was before. That's been good to see," unquote. There has been a little uptick in his velocity. The dude could barely pass 90 miles an hour last year, but he can hit 92 now. There's a caveat to that. He tuckers out towards the end of his rehab starts. He never passed 4 innings while he was rehabbing, and yet his velocity still sank to the high 80s by the end. And because of that, you could easily envision the risk involved with this move. Recall, the Dodgers designated James Paxton for assignment just a couple of days ago, and this was under the assumption that Kershaw could give them some innings. Now, when we mean some, do we really mean just 4? Right? Now, Kershaw is also tinkering with 2 new pitches, a sinker and a split changeup. To make room for Kershaw on the roster, Ricky Vanasco was designated for assignment. In other injury news, and let's be real, every day is injury day with the Dodgers. Shortstop Miguel Rojas had an MRI on his elbow that revealed a flexor strain, so he is going to go on the injured list. And that meant the Dodgers are shorthanded in middle infield. I mean, you might recall Mookie Betts was playing middle infield this year. He's been out for a while. So the Dodgers signed Nick Ahmed, last seen with the San Francisco Giants. So now we are taking Scum Francisco's hand-me-downs. That's positive. Ahmed was in Arizona working out. He gets the call, flies in, signs a contract, and was already in the lineup last night. And again, the Dodgers got smoked. Now, Dave Roberts said he has no idea how long Rojas is out. And as for Mookie Betts, he had only picked up a bat to just swing it around a couple of days ago. So the gig is going to belong to this guy for a while. The unfortunately named Kyle Hurt will undergo Tommy John surgery. Hurt was the 11th ranked prospect in the Dodgers farm system But considering the timing of this procedure, his recovery time is going to wipe out both this season and most likely the entirety of next season as well. The Dodgers and Tommy John surgery, I swear. When I get back home tomorrow, as longtime viewers know, I do this show on the road while I work. I plan on assembling a list of all the wacky Dodgers trade rumors so we can enjoy how many predictions fail to materialize. But there's one thing I want to say before I start work on all that. I read this post from a Dodgers blog that blasted out this hot news headline. The Dodgers could trade Andy Pages, Miguel Vargas, and James Outman at the deadline. To which we could all say, duh. They could. But there's something about the verb could. When you say they could do something, that also means that they could not do something. So that's a headline and article that tells us nothing. We're in the business of talking about reality. I wish the scribes would get that through their thick skulls. Former Lakers and Nuggets player Kentavious Caldwell-Pope said that the Lakers actually should have eliminated Denver in the 2024 playoffs. He went up on a podcast that I have no desire to listen to and said the push to get the top seed in the playoffs burned out the defending champion Nuggets. Quote, "You know how towards the playoffs guys get their rest? But I feel like that's where we spent most of our energy at times, trying to get that first place, playing catch up. And then we get to the playoffs, we have no gas. We felt like the Lakers should have beat us. We was down every game, at least 10 to like 20 something. Taking that energy and using it there, it was a lot that went into that season, no doubt," unquote. A couple things I did find interesting in that quote. One was that Caldwell-Pope said, "we," which indicated that the Nuggets actually conversed amongst themselves about being too tired. The other really important takeaway is that I'm not sure anymore that it was a lack of good in-game adjustments or substitutional patterns by Darvin Ham that cost him his job. If the Nuggets were in fact gassed, that's not strategic. That suggests to me that the Lakers players knew that the Denver Nuggets were gassed. And if the Lakers could tell that the Denver Nuggets were gassed, does that mean they didn't care that the Denver Nuggets were gassed? At least Lakers not named LeBron James, who's always focused on his legacy. That leads to a whole bunch of uncomfortable questions. Did the Lakers turn on their coach so much that they didn't care that they got smoked by a gassed basketball team? I'm not saying I know the answer. I'm saying those are uncomfortable questions that come up as a result of this quote. Professional athletes tend to know when their opponents are tired. And you don't go for the kill? You don't go for the kill. Over at UCLA, DeShaun Foster's success thus far has been attributed to pretty much one thing. Hold up a giant picture of Chip Kelly, you point and you say, "I'm not him." And then you just let the peals of applause just bathe over you like holy water. And that is not insignificant. I'm not saying Foster's going to fail, but the fact that he's not Chip Kelly is just joyous news to Bruins fans. And that bit, "I'm not him," absolutely kills in SoCal. But that act does not play that well on the road, apparently. He takes the podium at Big Ten Media Day and froze like a first-timer at an open mic. Quote, and by the way, this quote is awkward. Quote, I'm happy to be here. Glad to be part of this great conference. We're putting two great emblems together, UCLA and the Big Ten. We're a school that's won, 123 championships? So this fits with us being right in this conference. Football-wise, we're just excited. But I'm sure you guys don't know too much about UCLA, our football program. But we're in LA. It's us and USC. Then after a stream of urine rolled down his leg for about 20 seconds while he looked dead-eyed into the camera, he added, "I'm just basically excited." That's it. Dude, that is the type of energy that draws only 25,000 to the Rose Bowl. What the hell was that? We just had a dude lose the presidency because he had that kind of communication ability. Walk out there with notes. Nobody's going to hold it against you. We give you permission to have a crib sheet. He said it like that too. You know, they say you get high on your own supply. Something tells me DeShaun Foster's own supply is bad bleep. Get the high quality stuff. Meanwhile, at the same presser, Lincoln Riley got all swole as that little frame of his can handle, right? Dude was all bravado when he met the Big Ten scribes, and to be frank with you, I'm here for it to have him talk about USC that way. Because look, all off season long, we've heard from these mouth-breathing hillbillies in the SEC claiming that USC is scared. We have heard from ESPN chuckleheads claiming that Riley was going to get run any day now. There's this guy on ESPN, looks like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, who's even pitched the asinine idea that Deion Sanders is going to replace him. So yeah, I don't think of those opinions as particularly intelligent. So rumble, Riley, rumble. Roll up them sleeves and start throwing punches. Riley then tells the scribes there that he would put the Trojans' football history, quote, up against anybody's, unquote. Which, by the way, despite last year's faceplant, is correct. Because college football is judged by bowl wins, national titles, Heisman trophies. Yes, you would put USC's history up against anybody. Now, when he was asked what he expected from this current roster this year, he said, quote, to win this. One thing I've been steadfast on since the day I got to Los Angeles was our standards will never change, unquote. Now, let's be fair. Let's be honest with ourselves. Riley did mention the word rebuild multiple times, just as often as he did competing for championships. Rebuilding, competing for championships. Those two things fit together about as well as aromatherapy and a pap smear. But Riley added one thing that rang completely true to me. Quote, find one area that we haven't made progress. This thing's got momentum. It's coming. Nothing's going to stop it, unquote. I think it's more than a little optimistic to say that USC is going to be in the running for a Big Ten title this year. But yes, they've made progress. Just replacing the entire defensive staff is going to be major strides in the right direction. Another USC football news that is away from the Big Ten presser. Former USC wide receiver Jordan Addison said he found himself, quote, in a dark place, unquote, after his DUI arrest. It's called the drunk tank. It's not well lit. Rams cornerback Darian Kendrick appears to have a torn anterior cruciate ligament, according to ESPN. Additional exams need to take place to confirm the diagnosis. The new defensive coordinator, Chris Shula, had been considering using Kendrick as the so-called star position. which in layman's terms is a nickelback that could be utilized also as a linebacker or a pass rusher. Now, the Rams aren't necessarily hurting for corners. They did add Tre'Davious White and Darius Williams as free agents. I want to circle back to talking about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Yesterday, we were talking about how Paul George could have changed the narrative about how the Clippers are the B team in LA compared to the Lakers. All they had to do was win the title in 2020. It might be worthwhile to note that Caldwell-Pope agrees. The Clippers, as you might recall, choked away a 3-1 lead in Denver over in the COVID bubble tournament. Said Caldwell-Pope, quote, "I've heard it. Yeah, that it did come from their team. I don't know who said it, you know what I'm saying? The boys was like they was ready to go. First team ready to go," unquote, from the COVID bubble. There would have been your solution from B team right there, dudes. The Chargers defense sees the day of training camp. 5th round pick corner Cam Hart drew the praise of Derwin James, who said the 6'2 rookie looks like a basketball player out there. Not that he's going to take Asante Samuel's job, but the Bolts clearly like it. Meanwhile, wide receiver Quentin Johnston, at least for day one, has answered the call to improve from his gnarly rookie year. He caught 3 passes on 4 targets. People said at the practice that he looked like his route running had improved. Also with the Bolts, don't read too much in what I'm about to tell you, but they are experimenting with their backup offensive lineman. You recall Jamari Salyer, demoted from the starting unit. He spent half the time at right guard, then shifted out to right tackle. Meanwhile, Alex Leatherwood, a former first-round pick of the Raiders, shifted from right tackle to right guard. Now that could mean any number of things. Absolutely. But in addition to that, backup left guard Jordan McFadden got time with the first-teamers. Only not as a lineman, as an additional tight end, and also as a fullback. Now this makes sense to an extent because the Bolts have been trying to find more ways to become more physical in the running game. McFadden theoretically would be a 302-pound fullback. That's gonna pancake a few people. Angel City defender Ali Riley was pulled from the New Zealand Olympic team due to an undisclosed injury. This was supposed to be her 5th time representing the Australian redheaded stepkids or something like that. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me about what you expect from Clayton Kershaw now that he's back in Dodger blue. Do you buy into what Kentavious Caldwell-Pope said about both the Lakers and Clippers? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We are talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.